Carolyn Dube here, and today I'm sharing with you a gift that I'm giving. Yes, it's a box of Kleenex. You can see me pulling the top off of the Kleenex here. This is going to be going to one of my relatives, the kind of relative that has everything and doesn't really want more stuff in their life. But I wanted to give them something to let them know that I'm thinking about them. So this is a decorated, stenciled, painted box of good old Kleenex that I have made for them. So I'm going to turn this ordinary, average, generic box of plain old tissue, Kleenex, whatever you call it, into something that is a little more exciting, in my opinion. So I'm covering it all with a layer of gesso, and I'm going right over that top, the part that you rip off that's covering up where you pull the tissue out. I'm going right over that so that I've been able to put my entire design everywhere on this. Well, okay, not the bottom. I didn't really do anything on the bottom because that means having more patience than I have waiting for things to dry. I am doing the sides. I am getting some of it on my fingers as I'm doing this. No, I'm not really letting anything dry as I tip it from corner to corner. For the gesso layer, that doesn't bother me at all. Well, actually, when I come in and do a layer of paint, it doesn't bother me on this layer either. Now, as I'm putting this on, the design that's still under there on the Kleenex box is kind of peeking through, and it's just adding another layer to this. And I chose yellow because I wanted a really bright and happy color on this, because I want to let this person know how much I'm thinking about them, how much I appreciate them. So I want something very happy with it. And the reality is this person really doesn't need any more, quote, stuff. So this is practical and full of thought, but it won't become something that clutters up their life. And yes, I did completely let that yellow paint dry, which is pretty much a miracle with me. I'm going to start adding more color, design, and those types of things with stencils and just using a cosmetic sponge and acrylic paint. Those birds are from Roxanne Evans Stout, and the dots and lines that I'm putting here, I'm just using pieces and parts of one of Seth Apter's stencils, which are loaded with all sorts of pieces and parts that you can use in so many ways. Well, this next stencil I'm bringing in is by Andrea Mattis Demeng, and it has such a wonderful lines to it and shapes to it. It's called Thanks a Lotus, and with this, I'm going to put part of it on the top and part of it on the side. And you'll see here that I didn't tape down anything. I'm not precisely measuring anything. I'm just holding the stencil in place. Well, now what I'm going to do is I rotate the Kleenex box up. I'm just going to keep the stencil in place, so that will make it look like the stencil naturally just folds right over the edge of the Kleenex box. Now, could it be possibly off just a hair and not absolutely perfectly engineeringly precise on this? Probably, but guess what? Nobody's going to know in the end. Well, I loved how this looked so much, I decided I wanted to add another one on the other side. So I got the tip just where I wanted it and then just tipped it right over. And this time there's more of the lotus that's on the side. Because you know what? This is very freeform. Everything does not have to match up, be precise or perfect. And quite frankly, it's that imperfection of it that I really enjoy. And that little bit that I'm using there, that is the bottom of a Jamie Fingal stencil. And one of the things that I really love about doing Kleenex boxes is I get to use pieces and parts of stencils. I don't have to use an entire stencil if I don't want to. And since there really aren't any rules, if I want to use the same stencil on 4 of the sides, I can do that like I'm just doing here with my Union stencil. I can also combine different parts of a stencil to get a different look. So what I'm doing here is using some more lines from a different area of Seth Apter stencil. I'm going to come in here now with a bunch of flowing scripty writing. This stencil is called Rembrandt's Words, and it's adding a touch of script handwriting to it with paint. And I've got it in both the large and also the 6x6 size. And when I'm doing this, it's just filling in some of the areas for me with text, the way I would use book text or things like that, but I don't have to collage it on anymore. I can just stencil it right on. Now, just because I did it with one color doesn't mean I can't do it with 2 colors. So I'm coming in with another color right on the top, going in between the birds. And since there are no rules here, because again, this is a Kleenex box, as I stencil my circles on here, this is from a stencil by Terry Stegmiller, the Inky Circles. I can put it on over top of other things. I can put it on the top or not put it on the top. It's completely up to me. Well, I think I want some more on here, so I am going to get some more texture by grabbing another one of Seth Apter's stencils. I absolutely love how stencils can let me just get a little touch of color in places or a little touch of pattern. But I still want more words on here. So this time I'm going to bring in my stencil called Wall of Words. And this is a very different looking kind of writing than the scripty handwriting. Handwriting? tongue-tied today. And my Kleenex box is really starting to fill up with layers of pattern and color and design. So now it's just kind of those finishing touches, see what calls to me. And I seem to have writing everywhere else, so I'm going to bring Rembrandt's words in for just another layer on the ends. Then the last touch is the final step to kind of bring this to life, is the ever handy white paint pen, or this is a Sharpie poster paint white pen. And I'm just tracing everything. I'm going around the lines, adding just another layer to things. The nice part is the stencil designers have given me the shapes and the lines, and I just take to go over it in a very sloppy-woppy kind of way. One word of warning, when using pens on top of acrylic paint, it's really, really wise to let the paint dry completely because it gums up the pen. Now that said, I know that I should only work on dried paint. For some reason, I really, really, really want to write on the orange paint that is still soaking wet. I mean, it is so wet. I could get out the heat gun, but apparently that's not crossing my mind at all. If I do get any paint on the tip of the pen, what I do is make sure that I wipe it off somewhere else. See that orange? It's still wet. So I'm going to try and pretend. I'm going to mess with the orange over there and see if that, but nope, now I'm going to mess around the orange. But you know what? I am just going to take the plunge and I'm actually going to write on some wet paint in a moment. The thing that I'm going to do after that is make sure that I really clean off the tip of my pen so that that paint does not dry on there and ruin my pen. Well, thanks for joining me as I turn this plain old Kleenex box into a gift. And if you've enjoyed this video and like to see more of my videos, I'd love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. And of course, as always, if you have a friend that you think would enjoy this video, I'd love it if you shared it with them. Thanks for being a part of this colorful journey.